All right, you guys, I got a quick one for you today about calorie counting again. It seems like it has become so popular to tell people not to count calories if they're trying to lose weight, which is really frustrating because that is the foundation for weight loss. I did not say health, but for weight loss. But the study is very interesting and it addresses the variable factors that determine how much of the energy or calories in our food we are actually absorbing, right? We're actually ingesting and how much is passing through us. This isn't really new news, but it's relevant for a couple of reasons, which I'm going to address, that don't negate the necessity of calorie counting when you're trying to lose weight. But let's look at it, right? Here's something that I did not know that I found was fascinating was, first of all, how we have determined how many calories are actually in our foods. So listen to this one. This is fascinating. This is a cut and paste, so open plagiarism. In the late 19th century, American chemist Wilbur Olin Atwater set out to measure the energy we put into our bodies, quite literally blowing up food. Atwater used a device called a bomb calorimeter, which was a sealed container situated in a quantity of water, which measures the amount of heat produced during a chemical reaction. He'd place the food inside the device, run an electric current through it, and then boom, the higher the energy of the food, the more it would heat the surrounding water. And the calorie is the unit of energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 millimeter of water by 1 degree Celsius. So the calories you see on nutrition labels are actually kilocalories, which is the energy needed to raise the temperature of a liter of water by 1 degree. I didn't know that. I thought that was fascinating. And Atwater, same chemist, also collected the poop and pee of the participants in his study. And he blew that up too. And based on the energy difference between what the participants ate and what they excreted, Atwater determined that there are 9 calories in a gram of fat, 4 in a gram of carbohydrates, 4 in a gram of protein, and that's the system we use today, which is true. We do use that system in large part today. Now, often people talk about the discrepancies, right? So we say like, oh, if you want to lose a pound, you got to burn 3,500 calories. And then people will say, that's not exact, and it varies. It does vary. In some people, it might be 3,600 calories. In some people, it might be 3,400 calories. But you gotta burn stored energy to get through the excess fat, to burn it off, to get rid of it, right? And there's a great TED Talk, which I've recommended multiple times. It's called The Mathematics of Weight Loss, and it's by a biochemist named Ruben Meerman. And he explains literally how we get rid of excess stored body fat, that we don't want, hence the term excess, right? Not healthy, too much. All right, with that said, okay, so what are the variables? 2 variables that this study covers. Number 1 is that when they looked at fat calories from things like walnuts or cashews or almonds, we were not taking on as many of those fat calories as we would, let's say, saturated animal fat from a steak. And the reason for this is because of the fiber, the insoluble fiber, or the cellular wall of the food that's containing the energy. So we can't always break it down. Not to be gross, but I'm sure you've eaten certain foods and it might come out looking a lot like the way they went in. So in particular, they find this with things like legumes, nuts and seeds, and beans, because that insoluble fiber will hold some of the energy. It will also hold some of the nutrients, though. So another variable is how you prepare those foods. And this is why when people talk about things like lectins or goitrogens, you can, what's the right word? Neutralize those anti-nutrients in the way you prepare the food. And there are great studies about that. I cover that on my podcast, but you can Google it. The studies out there. It was very comprehensive. But in addition, we also know that cooking is in essence, a bit of a pre-digestion, right? So if you were to eat something like broccoli, it might not break down very well in your stomach. It might make you a little gassy. If you blanch it, if you cook it, it's essentially pre-digesting it for you and making it easier for your body to break down. And in some cases, that's why we're able to get more nutrients from our food, things like tomatoes, is because the nutrients in the food are more accessible. Well, the same thing goes for the energy, for the calories as well. So the argument is like, well, the calories aren't created equal. Okay, and the great news is if you were eating cashews and you thought you were eating 9 calories in a gram, maybe it's 7, which is great. Perfect. Good to know, right? Glad it's less. The other thing is not just the type of food, right? The fiber, the insoluble fiber with the food that makes it harder to break down and release the nutrients and the calories, not just the way we cook it, but also the microbes in our gut. And I've been talking a lot about microbiome, which is the trillions, I think it's trillions, of microbes, bugs, right? Non-human little critters in there that impact every component of your health. And again, like maybe you're listening to my podcast, we had gastroenterologist Dr. Sabine Hazan on talking about how she's releasing information on the way microbiome affects the severity of your COVID case. I mean, it's amazing. Your microbiome can impact everything from your immunity to your metabolism to your cognitive function, and the list goes on. And it also impacts the way we process our food. There's a great study that you can look up on 2 identical twins, and their insulin response to food was different, the same food. So they both might have, let's say, quinoa, and their insulin response is going to be very different, one twin to the other. And what's different is their microbiome, right? Because maybe one kid got put on antibiotics for an ear infection when he was 5 years old. Maybe another kid took a trip to Indonesia and was hiking and got a soil-based microbe that effectively cultivated in his system that affected his microbiome. And the list sort of goes on there. It's very diverse and we're learning the science of it, but that has an impact. So, okay, bottom line is we already know people's metabolisms function differently. There are many people I know that can eat whatever they want and not gain weight. And if I ate, a fraction of what they eat, I would put on weight. There are, as I said, different components. It could be my microbiome. It could be my genetic predisposition from a hormonal perspective to how I respond to those foods. Marks on my epigenome, if my ancestors had been through a famine, that make my body more predisposed to fat storage, right? And I release more fat storing hormones. The list goes on and on. But the reason I get nervous when people negate calorie counting is because it is the foundation of weight loss. And I'm not saying health. So even if a cashew may have less calories than we thought, if you're over consuming calories, period, you will still store that energy in your fat cells. And remember that even if you got that energy from a food that's very healthy, like let's say an avocado, that's loaded with nutrients, vitamins, minerals, all kinds of healthy fats, that's great for your health. However, that food also has an energy content, and if you consume more energy than your body is using in a day, it will get stored in your fat cells. So, of course, we want you to be eating like the best quality foods possible. Sure. I mean, and we've even talked about how, you don't want processed foods, you want whole grains, and the insulin response to, let's say, 100 calories of quinoa is very different than the insulin response to 100 calories of processed grains or boxed mashed potatoes, because there is no fiber. So your body breaks it down very quickly, converts it into sugar very quickly, right? And then your pancreas is like, uh-oh, our blood sugar just got slammed a lot quick, and it releases a ton of insulin. And we know that how that plays out hormonally affects our metabolism. So while it's interesting to know that some foods don't have the calorie content we thought they did, it doesn't change the simple math of calories in, calories out. If you're trying to lose weight, you've got to eat less food and put out more energy. You gotta put less food in your mouth, even if it's healthy, and you gotta work out more. I mean, it's been evidenced over and over and over and over again. You saw me do it year after year after year after year on television all over the world. But go to any of the comments on my social media or in my app, and it's like, oh, I watched your video, I read your book, and I started eating less and moving a little more. And what do you know? And guys, I'm not making money telling you to eat less and move more. If I want to make money, I'd be like, it's your hormones, and it's this element of it, and you can only find out this piece of it by buying my XYZPDQ. It's not that I don't want you to eat healthy. It's not that I don't want you to focus on that. I do. But I also get very nervous when you take the basic math out of it, because people tell me all the time I'm eating healthy, but they don't understand the energy piece. And that's critical. And we don't always have the money to buy perfect foods. So I've talked about this one before. Google the Twinkie diet. I think his name was Mark Taub. I hope I'm getting that right. A professor of nutrition, did nothing but eat garbage for, I think, 6 weeks. Forgive me, it's been a minute since I've read the study. And he lost tons of weight. I think like 27 pounds. Eating complete garbage, just less complete garbage. I don't want you to eat complete garbage. I just need you to understand that no matter how many studies they put out about, like, well, it's not an exact science, and it's not necessarily 3,500 calories, and calories aren't created equal, and if you want to lose weight, you gotta eat less. You gotta move more. And in my awesome reality, yeah, you'd be eating whole foods, nothing processed, all organic. But if you can't do it, eat less, make the better food choice whenever it presents itself, and move your body. Okay, team, don't forget, I created this channel just for you guys. So click like, subscribe, and let me know what you want to hear more about. If it's diet, fitness, wellness, mindfulness, I'm here for you. So give me your feedback.